In the annals of American crime, few figures are as famous as Sam Bass, the outlaw notorious for his terrorist exploits in the Old West in the late 1800s. From Texas to Nebraska, Bass and his band of daredevils circumvent the law, robbing banks, carriages, ambushing trains, and killing anyone who dared to stand in their way. But who was the man who instilled fear in the hearts of law-abiding citizens as well as lawmakers? What drove him to a life of crime, and how did he become the most legendary and feared criminal of his time? In this video, we dive into the fascinating story of Sam Bass, from his humble beginnings as an Indiana farmer to his final fatal gunfight with the Texas Rangers in 1878. So sit down, focus, and get ready to hit the road with some of the most intriguing and terrifying criminals of all time, Sam Bass, the legendary criminal of the Old West. That year was 1851. In the small town of Mitchell, Indiana, a baby boy was born. His name was Sam Bass, and few knew that he would grow up to be one of the most notorious outlaws in the Old West.
Remember to hit the like button, because it helps us a lot. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell to not miss the upcoming interesting video.
Sam is the son of Daniel and Elizabeth Jane Bass of the multiracial Bass family in North Carolina. However, tragedy struck early in Sam's life when both his father and mother died before he was 13 years old. Since that time, he was raised by his uncle, who did his best to provide for the boy. Despite the difficulties he faces, Sam is determined to forge his own path. At the age of 19, he ran away from home and set out on his own, eager to see what life had in store for him. But what Sam doesn't know is that his journey will lead him on a dark and dangerous path. Sam Bass's indomitable spirit has carried him from place to place, trying his luck at various jobs in hopes of becoming rich. He worked at a sawmill in Rosedale, Mississippi for a year, but his desire for adventure soon took him west to North Texas. There, he briefly found employment with Sheriff Egan of Denton. Bass's heart was in herding cattle, but he quickly realized that the job was hard work and the pay was meager. Despite the difficulties, he persevered and eventually bought a horse. He started racing it and used the winnings to sustain his life while herding cattle for ranchers in the San Antonio area. In 1876, Bass and his cowboy friends drove a herd of cattle as far as Nebraska. However, instead of investing their hard-earned money wisely, they squandered it all by gambling in Deadwood, a town famous for its gold mines in the Black Hills. Bass and Joel Collins tried to make an honest living as a freighter, but the harsh reality forced them to live in crime. They formed a gang called the Black Hills Bandits that hunted for carriages. These robberies brought Collins little in the way of loot, but they kicked off Sam Bass's criminal career. In the fall of 1877, Collins, along with Bass and his notorious gang of Jack Davis, Jim Berry, Bill Heffridge, and Tom Nixon, left Deadwood and drifted to Ogallala, Nebraska. Little did they know that they were planning one of the most daring train robberies in American history. When all was ready, these 6 masked and armed men intercepted the Union Pacific train at Big Springs, a small station a few miles from Ogallala. With nerves of steel and quick wits, they entered the express car and asked the messenger to open the safe. But the messenger explained that the safe had a time lock and could be only opened at the end of the route. The robbers threatened to kill him if he didn't open it immediately. Bass, who was always kind, begged the man to stop, believing the messenger was telling the truth. But with no money in his pocket, one of the robbers noticed 3 small boxes near the large safe. Curiosity overwhelms him, and he grabs a coal pickaxe and slams open the top box. What he found inside made him extremely happy and excited. $20,000 in sparkling gold coins. All 3 boxes contain a similar amount of money, all in the form of $20 gold bars. The aftermath of the train robbery was chaos. The robbers made a considerable amount of money from the boxes on the train and the passengers. They must condescend, but pressure from the law enforcement is mounting. Railroad officials, the U.S. Deputy Marshal, and numerous police chiefs are scouring the area for any sign of the robbers. Collins and his gang needed a safe place to hide, and they found it in a department store in Ogallala. The store hires a man named Moore, who used to work as a courier for Union Pacific and has inside knowledge of company officials. Collins and his men strike up a conversation with Moore, who is eagerly discussing the recent robbery. The robbers pretended to be concerned citizens and even offered help to track down the perpetrators if they were paid enough. Moore sees an opportunity to make money and agrees to help the gang. He gave them information about the investigation and even helped them escape from town when things got too hot. The group moves to other towns, continuing to carry out a series of robberies and chaos wherever they go. Bass quickly returned to his home state of Texas and formed a new gang responsible for carrying out a series of carriage thefts. During 1878, the gang targeted 4 trains within a 40-kilometer radius of Dallas. Despite the fact that these robberies yielded very little financial gain, they did attract the attention of the Pinkerton National Detective Agency and a special unit of the Texas Rangers, led by Captain Janius Peak in command. The law enforcement agencies launched an extensive manhunt for Bass and his gang, leading to a number of notable confrontations between the 2 factions. The ringleader, Bass, tried to avoid capture by the Texas Rangers for a while, until one of his gang members, Jim Murphy, became an informant. The events that led to Murphy's betrayal were complex. Mr. Murphy's father, who was seriously ill at the time, was arrested and detained for questioning. Denied access to medical treatment, the father's condition quickly deteriorated and he was left alone to endure the pain. With his father's life at stake, Murphy agrees to become an informant, providing confidential information about the actions of Bass and the gang. John B. Jones, a member of the Texas Rangers, was later informed of Bass's plan to rob the Williamson County Bank. Jones quickly organized a thorough ambush, just waiting for Bass and his accomplices to get out of the net. On July 19, 1878, Bass and his gang were surveying the area before planning the robbery. While buying cigarettes at a store, they were noticed by Williamson County Sheriff A.W. Grimes. When Grimes approached the men and demanded that they surrender their weapons, they shot and killed him. During an escape attempt, Bass was also shot by Texas Rangers agents George Harold and Sergeant Richard Ware. As Ware fires the fatal shot, Soapy exclaims, "I think you've got him." As the chaos grew, every sane man in town grabbed their guns and joined the fray. The bandits had mounted their horses, and despite the dire situation, they fought with great determination. Amidst the chaos, Frank Jackson emerges as the hero of the gang. Barnes lay dead at his feet, while Bass was mortally wounded and unable to defend himself or even ride a horse. Bullets fell on them like rain. Despite the danger, Jackson displayed an act of remarkable bravery. With a pistol in his right hand, he stopped the approaching Texas Rangers while using his left hand to unbuckle Bass's horse and lift him into the saddle. Once the wounded Bass was protected, they frantically escaped, galloping past Old Round Rock. Jim Murphy, the traitor who informed the Rangers of the gang's whereabouts, witnessed the dramatic scene as Jackson and Bass ran away. As the night fell, Bass and Jackson went into the woods to seek refuge. However, the loss of blood affected Bass, and he passed out from exhaustion. Jackson is determined to stay with his leader, believing he can help him fend off any pursuers. But Bass knew his time had come, and deeply saddened, he told Jackson to let him stay. "No, Frank," he said. "I've done my job." He instructs Jackson to tie his horse nearby so he can escape if he regains his strength during the night. Bass convinced him to continue on his own. And so, with a heavy heart, Jackson left Bass in the woods and fled for his own safety. Sam Bass endured unimaginable pain from the moment he was shot until his death 3 days later. After being left behind, Bass tore his shirt into small pieces to wipe the blood off his body. Bass was discovered by nearby residents and taken to Round Rock, where he received medical treatment. Sadly, his condition continued to deteriorate, and he died on Sunday, July 21st, 1878. In his final hours, General John B. Jones, who had led the Texas Rangers in pursuit of Bass, asked the dying Bass to reveal information about his accomplices. Although Bass did many evil things in his life, he did not betray his friends. He tells Jones that he cannot reveal the identities of his accomplices and takes their secrets to the grave. Despite the pain he endured, Bass remained loyal to his friends until the very end. Sam Bass is buried in the cemetery at Old Round Rock. A small memorial was erected over his grave by an older sister. Sam Bass is one of the most notorious and feared criminals in the history of the Old West. His daring train robberies and bank robberies captured the public imagination and transformed him into a legendary figure of the Wild West. The story of Sam Bass serves as a reminder of the lawlessness and danger that shaped the Old West. His legacy continues to captivate historians and nostalgics even today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.